So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Katharina.
Yeah, I think we can start this exciting webinar. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar SMEs across Europe, ICT and Electronics. I realize that this is already the 9th webinar that we organize within the project Circular SMEs across Europe since its launch last year in April. And yes, welcome again to Flanders, as this is the second time that we host a webinar in this series on behalf of Flanders Investment and Trade and our partner Circular Flanders. So, I'd like to welcome you, but I also like to mention and thank our European partners, the Green Economy Cluster of North Rhine-Westphalia, the Scottish Zero Waste Organization, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, and the Enterprise Europe Network for their partnership today. My name is Katharina Desmet, and together with my colleague Pieter De Maeght, we from Flanders Investment and Trade, together with our colleagues behind the scene, will guide you through the webinar. So we are certainly delighted to see you present here today with us. And we also like to hear your thoughts. So please take part in the discussion later on and drop your questions in the chat. We aim to deal with them at various moments during the webinar. For those who registered but were not able to attend, the recordings of the webinar will be made available on the platform of Circular SMEs across Europe afterwards. As you probably have seen on one of the introduction slides, Circular Flanders, the public-private partnership that coordinates the circular transition in our region, gathered just 1 month ago over 100 stakeholders around 6 strategic domains at its second State of the Union. And one of these domains is manufacturing, because manufacturing is an essential pillar of our economy and welfare. There are already some great examples of companies that made the shift to more circular activities, but for many other companies in Flanders, including the ICT and electronics sector, we expect that the circular journey and challenge will speed up in the years to come. And this challenge is similar to many companies and stakeholders all over Europe. And that is exactly how and why this project started, to exchange and share experiences. So the topic today is circular solutions related to ICT and electronics, a major issue when we see the huge e-waste and the increasingly complex products with integrated electronics. But at the same time, it's an opportunity on the materials and resources side. Not only if you think of the material and resources that e-waste contains, but more importantly, how future electronic products will be conceived, designed, manufactured, and reused. So I think we could start with the keynote. Yoko Dams, who kindly accepted to be here with us today, is Research Team Lead Circular Economy at VITO, the Flemish Institute for Sustainable Technological Research. In this position, she is regularly involved in advising the European Environment Agency, more particularly the European Topics Center, ETC. She is author or co-author of several publications, for example, already in 2020, on the economic consequences of consumer repair strategies for electrical household devices. So Yoko will provide us with the European framework on circular ICT and electronics, and she will share information on current projects together with some triggering insights. The title of her keynote is ICT and Electronics as Key Enablers for Europe's Green and Digital Twin Transition. Yoko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katharina. Let me first share my screen. It's raining really hard now, so if this is causing a background noise, I'm really sorry for that. Okay, I think the presentation is on the screen now. You can see it? Yes. Okay, that works well. Fine. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm Yoko. Thank you for inviting me for this webinar today. I am team leader and researcher at VITO, and I am involved in projects where we make the bridge between circular economy on the one hand and digitalization at the other hand. And because at VITO, we believe that both transitions go hand in hand. So on the one hand, if we would like to move to a more circular economy, we feel there is a strong need for digitalization in there. But it's also the other way around. If we would like to install these digital technologies in our society, then we can better make them in such a way that they are sustainable and circular. Otherwise, we will never reach this green economy. So this is what we call the twin transition. In my keynote, I would like to first bring you the European context. So you will probably recognize most of the directives on the screen as applicable today. The Eco Design Directive is there already since 2009, and it was installed back then mainly to set requirements for energy consuming products and to move more towards energy efficiency. But this directive of this set of requirements is now seen as, it was very effective, of course, and they feel like we can better extend this existing framework and in this way move to more circular products. But I will come back to that. I will first show you the policies that were presented within the Circular Economy Action Plan. This action plan was launched 2 years and more than 2 years ago. Commission is dealing with these times. And so as they mentioned here already in the action plan, they see the eco-design methodology really as the method to move from products to linear products, let's say, to circular ones. They also touch upon the right to repair within the action plan. This is some kind of a movement that came from the citizen within Europe, and the Commission picked it up, and they felt like, yeah, please, let's do something with this. And I will also zoom in on this thing later. But first, recently on March 30 of this year, the Commission came with this proposal to further extend the eco-design so that it also cover the circularity, circular designs of products. So first of all, they set these eco-design requirements, not only that products are energy efficient, but also that they become much more circular and environmental friendly. And the second aspect of this proposal for new regulation is also really interesting. It's the fact that they set performance and information requirements for almost all categories of goods as put on the market in Europe. But it was immediately highlighted that they see the electronics and ICT as a priority, and they will start working on this stream first. So what do they ask for all products that are put on the market in Europe? That they rely on a set of requirements with respect to circularity and repairability, that spare parts are available, that they are energy efficient, that they are that they consist of recycled materials, secondary materials, that they are recycled, that they can move to remanufacturing or recycling woods more easily, and so on and so on. But what they also added here is the information requirements. So each producer, manufacturer of products, they also should make available a set of information. So they suggest here to add footprints, carbon and environmental footprints, so that consumers know what the footprint is of the product. And probably they will extend this list of information requirements towards all specifications for what are the materials used here, what are the spare parts within this product, and so on and so on. So all of this information should be covered within a digital product passport. And Commission feel like this is the way for consumers to have full information about the product. And so they can use this information when purchasing products. And they can compare, for example, the climate footprint of different products and use this while deciding upon their purchasement. Also, during the use phase, if the product fails, something, a spare part, for example, breaks, then they know much better what spare part it is and where they can order it. And at the end of life, when the product is collected for recycling, the organization that is in charge of recycling also knows much better what the best option and what the best technology is for full recovery of the materials. And also, it's not only interesting for consumers and businesses having this information available, but also for the public authorities, of course, to better perform checks and controls, but also very important for monitoring purposes. Because today we are together with the European Environment Agency looking how we can use this new upcoming information stream to monitor lifespans of products, for example. Next one is the right to repair. So the Commission has really endorsed this fact, and they said, like, yes, makes sense. We will install another set of regulation to meet this settlement of the repair, the right to repair. And they have published a set of proposals. I've put them on the screen, but yeah, they vary a bit. But yes, one of them is that they would see longer legal warranty periods, for example, or that a reused product, for example, will also have a certain period of legal guarantee. Or another option here they think about is when a product is repaired. After the repair, you have again the possibility to have this legal warranty in place. So it's they have a lot of ideas about it, but it's not settled yet. But recently, the European Parliament, they also have adopted a resolution on the right to repair, and they say also a bit of the same. We would like to have products that are designed in such a way that they are repairable and that we can repair each citizen here in Europe is able to have these things repaired. So then let's move to what's about the circular electronics. What's the problem? What's the issue? Well, today, as we see it in our products, we purchase as consumers. We see that the products, the material composition of products mostly is produced of virgin materials, and sometimes they contain hazardous substances. And yeah, we like to get rid of these materials, and we would like to see more use of secondary materials in there. On the other hand, at the end of life, we also see that not enough of these products are collected properly, and also recycling is not the ideal technologies applied upon those. So also there we can improve. We need to improve the system, but in between, during the use phase, we see that the lifespans of our products is way too small, and there is really a need to extend those. And I think this graph speaks for them own. So you see that here the actual lifetime, the designed lifetime, and desired lifetime for those product categories. And so the designed lifetime is more like a technical one, but the desired lifetime, this one you receive when you simply ask consumers what is your optimal lifespan for this product. And then you see that most of the consumers are disappointing about the actual lifetime of their products, and that yeah, we should extend this actual lifetime soon. And how can we achieve this? Well, we feel like let's start working with these new technologies more and more available out there, and bring them to the electronics value chain. And so the cloud technology, for example, the fact that we use energy efficient digital technologies is important, but also at the product passport. So let's create new information stream. It's really, really important for all phases throughout the value chain. And finally, let's start sharing data. Let's start pooling data and apply artificial intelligence like deep learning and so on upon those to really retrieve information from the data. Not only collect data because we need to collect data, but also use data and let them produce insights. And this is where we are strongly working on. My first example is the Share Repair project. This project is still running. It is developing several tools to support repair across Europe. And the idea is that all these digital tools, they collect data, and all these data will be pulled together in one overarching data platform. And it is even the idea to also extend the coverage of the existing data platform towards all repairs done over from professional repairs to producers, manufacturers taking care of repair, to voluntary repairs and so on, and to have one large data platform, and in which we also apply deep learning algorithms to fully learn from experiences, and so that the citizen who is confronted with a failure can consult the guidance tool and learn from the experiences gathered by the professional repair, for example. So this is something we are still working on. Another tool that is still under development is the Circular tool. Vincent from Edmire is also in the call. He knows much better than I do. But this is a tool that can be used by companies as a decision support tool. And so if they would like to move to more circular activities within their company, then they can assess that from an environmental perspective and from a financial perspective. So this is a print screen of what the tool is producing. So for a few scenarios, you can compare against each other. The tool will generate the outcomes with respect to how many materials you will be using, what your footprint will be under that scenario, and what costs would come. And so you can, navigate through the different scenarios and evaluate what's the best option for you if you would like to move to a more circular product. And then finally, at VITO, we also assess from a more macroeconomic perspective the circularity within the economy, and we have tools for that. And this is a scenario, the policymakers, they really would like to see occurring. This is when you should decrease your taxes upon repair services, then you can generate an increase in your GDP, your households are more happy, and all positive effects. But you could also reduce your greenhouse gas emissions with this policy. So this is a scenario we can run with our models, and we communicate a lot towards policymakers. And this was already the end of my presentation. I'm looking at the time because sometimes I can keep on speaking, but if there are any questions, please do.
Well, thank you very much, Yoko. Very interesting, very valuable insights, and I'm sure there will be questions popping up, maybe now, maybe later on. So please stay with us. I'll just check once more in the chat if I see something. Not at the moment. So let's continue with the program.
They have my contact, so they can also use that.
Yes,
if they have
and also
questions.
on the platform there is opportunity to connect and have a meeting.
Sure. Yeah.
So we will continue with the program of today. Stay with us, Yoko, please.
Yeah.
We will all watch together now the video film that was compiled together with the representatives of the SMEs who work together for this webinar. And afterwards, my colleague Pieter De Maeght will take over and start the discussion with the SMEs. So let's start the movie.
Flanders is a densely populated region located at the North Sea and one of the most open economies in Europe. It has a strong industrial and logistics base, home, as you probably know, to major international seaports such as Antwerp, Bruges, Ghent, North Seaport and Ostend. That means that in Flanders, every year, many millions of tons of materials are produced, imported and exported. So it is a challenging environment with opportunities for ambitious circular investors and stakeholders. Did you know that Flanders is for decades a frontrunner in recycling? Household waste is indeed recycled for over 70% for years now. Meanwhile, already 68% of industrial waste is also given a second life. If we add the recycling and reuse of construction and demolition waste, the recycling rate of industrial waste becomes as high as 79%. So where lies then the challenge for Flanders? The challenge is to make higher value strategies the new norm, in addition to recycling. That means using less materials from the start, extending the lifespan, and recycle residual flows. The Flemish government aims to make Flanders a circular frontrunner in Europe. It wants to reduce the material footprint of our consumption by 30% by 2000. Circular Flanders, the public-private partnership that coordinates the transition, gathered over 100 enthusiastic stakeholders around 6 strategic domains at its second State of the Union on 25th of April 2022. One of these domains is manufacturing. Manufacturing is an essential pillar of our economy and welfare. And the circular shift in manufacturing is fully supported by Industry Federation Agoria. A successful example is the company Etappe Lighting that introduced a circular business model together with redesigned and also the company Barco, world leader in visualization of data in complex business networks, has already been researching on embedding eco-design and circular solutions in the product design. For many other manufacturing companies in Flanders, including the ICT and Electronics sector, the circular journey and challenge will speed up in the years to come. The recycling and regaining of valuable materials in the IT and electronics sector already has a very strong foothold in Flanders. The plant in Flanders of the internationally active company Umicore accounts for 21% of the total European capacity for recycling lithium-ion, mainly originating from old electronics such as smartphones and computers. Today, the recycling and reuse of consumer electronics in Flanders is even aiming at zero waste.
Edmire is a design company. We are a product design company founded in 2010. But in 2017, we started questioning ourselves what our responsibility as designers is. So that's where we started brainstorming what we should do. We came up with the idea that we, as a company, need to design out waste. So that's where we started focusing on sustainability and eco-design. And today, we help companies to design sustainable and circular product and packaging solutions and business models. We also developed a tool called Circulix that will help us identify and verify and compare different circular business models and their impact on the environment. We are also B Corp certified, so we are a business as a force for good company. The circular economy, it's not a question of if, but it's a question of when. From our belief, there's no other way. If you look back 100 years, we were much more circular than now. We had much more touch with the environment, but post-war economic growth and urge to extreme efficiency have left us blind for the environment. So we have to take back on that track. So the challenge for climate is complex, and we need to take all impact factors and impact indicators into account. So that's one big challenge I see. And the other is that the circular economy it's much more than just about business model. It's also about doing right. It's about transparency. It's about collaborating for the greater good. It's about giving back equally to what you take. It's about harmony, but it's also about people as much as it is about materials or energy.
OutofUse is a company specialized in the recycling and the reuse of old IT appliances. First of all, we are going to collect at the customer's place. Then we are going to check whether the appliances are reusable or not. If reusable, then they will come to this working bench and we will do the data wiping by means of specialized software. In the beginning of OutofUse, some 12 years ago, we only did the recycling of old appliances, but then we noticed that a lot of this material is perfectly reusable. And in the meantime, almost 30% of all appliances are reused now. That's why OutofUse is giving purpose to old appliances. The unique proposition of OutofUse is that we are a one-stop shop. So we take every material that is an electric appliance, we take with us and we recycle it, or we reuse it. If we recycle it, we obtain a recycling quote of 89% that goes back to secondary material.
Good afternoon. My name is Niels Wagemaker and I'm the co-founder of Circular Industries. We started our company because there's a huge lack of specialized refining capacity for the recovery of raw materials from complex waste streams.
The idea of the blue system came up when we learned from our customers, from hospitals all over the world, that after a replacement of an implant for a knee or a hip is thrown away after 2 minutes of use. That's to say, hundreds of thousands of batteries, of motors and electrical cable are thrown into the waste. This is no longer the state of art. And therefore, we decided to split the plastic on one side and the pieces of high value on the other side. We have the drive unit, which can be used more than 150 times. We succeeded with the help of our engineers to create a product which we have now. It's called the Blue Lavage system. So it's no longer a single-use instrument. It's far away from the idea that you use something of high value after a few minutes and throw it into the waste. I just saw an old Indian saying, which means the world in which we live now is not our world. We have just borrowed it from our children. And I think this has to be in all our minds.
VITO was set up in 1996 and initially worked with OEMs to help reduce obsolescence and scrap by selling their excess manufacturing inventory such as systems and components. With the introduction of the re-regulations and with their established experience in the electronics sector, Re-Tek offered a new solution for businesses to legally dispose of their electronics waste, which over time developed into offering reuse as a secure and environmentally sustainable method of asset retirement. We repair, refurbish and reuse approximately 200,000 products on an annual basis and actively promote the circular economy to ensure IT products such as laptops and PCs are kept in circulation for as long as possible and prevent the need for items to be needlessly recycled or landfilled. VITO has several community projects, such as working with charities to help recover pre-loved IT and domestic appliances in their regions to provide much needed revenue and employability opportunities. However, the activities closest to our hearts are our education and employability programmes, where we work with schools to deliver practical, hands-on activities that enable pupils to think about what's inside their tech, how they can take care of it, and what they can do when they no longer need it. In addition, we provide employability opportunities for those furthest from the job market and for young people with additional support needs. Through these programmes, Re-Tek support communities and charities to help educate, raise awareness and foster a sense of responsibility to ensure we keep products in use for as long as possible. We would actively encourage fellow businesses to reach out, particularly to charities, to support the collection of redundant IT equipment from home users and local businesses in their area, providing 100% of profit back to the charity.
We hope that the keynote today by VITO, the Flemish Institute for Sustainable Technological Research, will help us to envision how the future of ICT and electronics in Europe will be shaped and what further challenges and opportunities. As Flanders Investment Trade, the foreign trade and investment agency of the Flemish government, we team up with our research institutes, clusters and companies, and we focus on sharing our experiences with you and on boosting international sustainable cooperation. If you are interested to learn more about it or even join the Circular Drive in Flanders, just get in touch. We and our partners hope that you will have an inspiring travel stop in Flanders today and look forward to a fruitful exchange.
Hello everybody, a warm welcome from my side as well. My name is Pieter De Maeght. I am Technology Attaché for Flanders Investment Trade based in Munich with a focus on digital and health tech technologies. And I'm honored today to moderate our panel debate. We have gathered an interesting selection of people from SMEs that represent different stakeholders in the value chain for circular ICT and electronics. How we will run things today is, first of all, I will invite the different panel members to introduce themselves briefly. And then in a second phase, we will confront the panel members with several questions where we try to cover the diverse points of view of this topic on circular electronics. However, there is also a role for you. So as you already could see with the nice example given by Alexis Labbé, I'm also looking out to you, to your questions based on the debate or the questions why you came to join this webinar. And I'll try to do my best to integrate it into the format that we have today. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Marc Adriaanse of OutofUse to do a short introduction of himself.
Hello, everybody. Okay. Can you hear me, Peter?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay, my name is Mark from OutofUse, a company based in Beringen, Belgium, and we are specialized in the reuse and recycling of old IT material, as you have seen in the video. So this was our first adventure, in fact, coming from recycling and going to reuse. And because of the circularity, we thought, well, maybe we can have some more things to do. from that point of view, we started to reuse batteries from electric vehicles. So we are now collecting batteries from electric vehicles from all brands in Belgium and Luxembourg. And we dismantle these battery packs into modules. And the modules are then individually tested. And the ones that are reusable, they are reused in the battery energy storage systems. So it's again the same principle, trying to reuse as much product as possible and trying to prolong the lifetime of a product as a product or as its component, in this case of the modules. And we are still going further as we see more opportunities. For instance, solar panels. We are now setting up a joint venture to reuse used solar panels again. So we will test them with a third partner. We will test them, characterize them, noting down the specs, and then we will resell them to make to go to fields where there's a lot of sun, a lot of place, and they can use, let's say, less capacity solar panels. So it's always the same system, trying to reuse as much as we can. I think that wraps it up, Peter.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Then I would like to move on to Niels Wagemaker from Circular Industries.
Yes, here I am.
Yes, we hear you. We don't see you yet, but we do hear you.
Yeah, there might be a slow delay in seeing my camera, because in my interface it's on, but I'm working on a MacBook and we're using Microsoft technology, so there might be something wrong.
But I suggest you go on and start introducing yourself, and then hopefully.
Yeah, otherwise I will just share my screen. That might be a possibility. So let's do that now. I'm not sure if you can see my screen right now. Are you able to see my screen at this particular moment?
We are not, or at least I am not seeing your screen.
Okay, well, in that case, let's skip and proceed to the next person in line, and I'll give it another try. I'll try to log in, and let's try it afterwards.
Okay. Then
thank you very much.
Let's move on. Thank you, Niels. Let's move on then to Michael McHugh from Re-Tek. If you can turn on. Thank you, Michael.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we do. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, so firstly, thanks for inviting us to the webinar today. As you can see, I'm not Billy, who was in the video. He's in Turkey for a week. So yeah, it's been brought on myself to join for Re-Tek's side today. So yeah, Re-Tek, we celebrated our 25th year in business in 2021 last year. Our slogan at the time was pioneering the circular economy. So we really focus hard on this message of sustainability and what the circular economy is all about as well. As Billy mentioned, obviously I've seen the video, I was watching it. Our whole business model is based around reuse as well. So Re-Tek's facility is purpose-built really to bring in redundant IT equipment from organisations all over the world. Obviously, we're based in Scotland, but we facilitate the whole of the UK. But we've got a partner network of other IT asset disposal companies throughout Europe, Asia Pac, America, where we work with them as well, and they do the same as we do. Yeah. Our facility, we are what we call an AATF. It's an approved authorised treatment facility where we can bring the equipment in, test it for functionality, grade it, as the OutofUse guys were showing you in their video as well, with the Blanco data wiping as well. So we offer our customers a full suite of different services, but the main focus is around IT asset disposal, remarketing, recycling, redeployment as well. Yeah, so if there's any questions at all that you need to ask, then we can cover that at the end. But I hope that's given you a bit of an overview on who we are.
Yes, super. Thank you.
No worries.
See you soon. And then we'll move on to Vincent Desmet from Edmire.
Yes, hello. So yes, thank you for inviting me for the webinar. So I'm Vincent, founder of Edmire. We are a design company, and our motto, like I told in the video, is design out waste. So our full focus, the whole team is working on projects related to sustainability and with a focus on eco design and circular design. So our vision for the circular economy is that if we have to shift from a linear to a circular economy, that we have to redesign and reinvent everything. And there's a big chunk of creative thinking necessary in this transition. That's where we come in. So we support companies to start and continue and gain more experience on eco design. So we do that in different types of forms. So we have our design services where we conduct services for the clients. We do life cycle assessments for clients. We organize master classes to share information within bigger teams, or we do workshops for smaller teams where we go in depth on certain specific details from a client's product or packaging. And then the last thing we do is we develop tools, like Yoko mentioned. We are working together with VITO on development of Circulix. Circulix is a software tool that we developed to find the best possible business model for a circular product. So that's in a nutshell what we do. We always work in a certain process. Very easy. It's first you analyze, then you design, then you implement. We try to follow that process within every new development project. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. And then we unfortunately have a last-minute cancellation by Friedrich Wilhelm Köllenbach from UTK Solutions. Unfortunately, something came in between and he couldn't join anymore. And then we will do a second attempt with Niels to see if it works. Otherwise, we'll go with the audio version. But there he is. Now we see you.
Right. Well, finally, logging in and out did solve the problem. So hopefully you can hear me right now.
Yes, we do hear
excellent. You. Well, okay. What I will do is a second attempt to share my screen. So that might take a few seconds. I'm almost there. Are you able to see my screen right now?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, happy to hear so. So finally, it worked out. If not, in that case, I would have thrown out my MacBook into the canal next to my house. But fortunately, that hasn't to be necessary right now. Anyway, my name is Niels Wagemaker. I'm the co-founder of Circular Industries, and we are a smelting and refining company. And the next slide will give you an impression what the factory will look like, at least when we're proceeding to the next slide. But it seems to be stuck somehow. So obviously, Microsoft and Apple aren't the best combination, clearly. But anyway, otherwise, I will try to stop this. There it is. Sorry. Yeah. That's an impression of the factory we're going to build. We're not there yet. We are a project developer of the urban mining factory print circuit boards. We're going to process 15,000 tons of print circuit boards on a yearly basis. And by doing so, we will become one of the larger processors of discarded print circuit boards. Well, what we really are going to do is maximum recovery and sustainable recovery of elements from e-waste. So in this case, print circuit boards. We will start with recovery of 9 elements, and later on we'll scale that up to 24 elements. And there are some reasons why we are going to do this. Our main motivation, well, actually we have 8 reasons to do this, but one of the main motivations is that primary mining is ending. So a lot of current mining sites are almost, they have almost reached the bottom. There's also limited exploration of new mining sites because a lot of new mining sites are in the Amazon or at Greenland, for instance. And these are very vulnerable areas. And in Europe, we hardly have any mines. So we need to make sure we will recover much more elements from discarded e-waste. Also, we have resource dependency. We have now trade issues because of the war between Russia and Ukraine, because of, there are some import bans when it comes to nickel, for instance. And print circuit boards are very rich in nickel content. But anyway, we have to make sure at some point that we are not dependent anymore on foreign powers, and that we as Europe provide ourselves with our own critical raw materials. Furthermore, there are a lot of there's a lot of lack of applications for residual waste. When you look at smelters, they have a lot of residues, and they don't utilize these residues. Furthermore, the current smelting industry in Europe, they have high toxic emissions, for instance, lead and arsenic. And that's not very good for the health for the people in the vicinity of that factories. Furthermore, we foresee an energy metal supply crunch because demand is much higher than what you produce from primary mining right now. And last but not least, we see a lot of low recycling rates of electronic waste in Europe, and also limited recovery of elements from, in our case, print circuit boards. I will do this very fast, by the way, because I only have 3 minutes, so this is only a small portion of the slide we usually show to stakeholders. But anyway, one of our residual waste streams is glass, and we will convert this glass into pebbles for the concrete industry to replace primary mined pebbles. And when you look at the recycling rates of e-waste in general in Europe, well, we are behind the targets. Only 3 countries within Europe, they meet the targets. It's Croatia, it's Estonia, and Bulgaria. And they all meet the 65% recycling rate of e-waste. But all the other countries don't. So there's a lot to gain.
Good. No.
And sorry, this is my last slide. When you look at print circuit boards in specific, this is an example of a low, medium grade print circuit boards. There can be 60 elements on a print circuit boards, but basically the current companies who are processing print circuit boards, they only extract, let's say, 5, 6, or perhaps even a little bit more. But the providers, their suppliers, they're only being paid for about 5 elements they provide. It's gold, silver, palladium, platinum, and copper. And we are going to extract 9 elements, and we will pay our suppliers also these 9 elements. And in the end, or in a couple of years, we'll extract about 24 elements from print circuit boards. And we'll make sure that we pay these elements to our potential suppliers in the near future. So that's the business model we have in general. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Niels. Then we have introduced everybody. I think we can then bring everybody on the screen of the panel so that the audience can see you all at the same time. And then we will move on to the first question. But here I also want to take briefly, again, the reminder that don't hesitate to post your own questions so that we can try to incorporate those as well. So we have Michael, Mark, Vincent, and then Niels. Christoph, are you also pinning Niels?
I'm just going to look for Niels because he's apparently left.
Okay, then yeah, then we'll just continue, and then while you are searching for him. So as a first question to start, because this is an industry that is really in the center focus now, also with all the policies and the momentum going on in the European Commission. What do you see as biggest drivers for further stimulating circular activities and business in general, but also in your particular business? So maybe we can start with Mark on this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the biggest drivers has already been mentioned by Yoko. Hey, it's the Green Deal, of course. Hey? It's a very, very huge driver because of the right to repair, of course. Hey? She also mentioned the chargers that will be the same for almost all devices, and very important, the recycled content. Hey? Nowadays, not enough recycled content is used, and there is a driving force now, the legislation. So not only for waste of electronic equipment, but also in the batteries, with the battery directive, which hasn't been mentioned, I think. So there are very big drivers. And then, of course, last but not least, the product as a service, as when you are owner of the product during the whole lifetime, you will make sure it will last long, it will be repairable, and you will use a good material that you can recycle. So I think that although we are already very far with the reuse and recycling, we are still at the very beginning. So there are a lot of opportunities, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe Michael, as you are in a similar segment and also have a long track record in the industry, what do you see are now big drivers to also make it into the next step of maturity first?
Yeah,
Circular
thanks.
electronics.
Cheers, Peter. Again, Billy left the answers before he went to Turkey, so I'll read a little bit. But government legislation, I think, is what we were focusing on, required to enforce circular economy drivers. For example, government frameworks that are promoting to buy refurb rather than going out and buying brand new from your big tier 1 vendors, HP, Dell, people like that. To give the customer, the organisation, especially within public sector, an option to buy refurbished, high quality grade A refurbished laptops, PCs, monitors, printers, things like that. As a minimum to force governmental departments, there needs to be at least a percentage or a proportion of equipment that's going back into their estate and their install base that has been refurbished to high quality. We also mentioned leasing as well. Instead of going out and buying new, we've got a part of the business which is called Re-Tek, where we could lease refurbished, tested, fully functional IT equipment to organisations, whether they're small, medium-sized, or right up to your large, local authorities in the UK, for 6 months, 12 months, for specific projects, for a small fee, and then we would go and collect that equipment at the end of the lease, and then we could again wipe it down, clean it up, and then depending on the condition of the device, lease it back out again. So from a Re-Tek perspective, education is paramount. I think Yoko mentioned that on her presentation as well. It's educating the consumer, it's educating the organisation to the options that are out there as well. And it has to be driven again by the powers that be within government that's enforcing some of these to make the necessary changes. We believe again we've got Zero Waste Scotland, the Waste Reduction Authority as well within the UK that are pushing these messages, but again, they need to be hit home a little harder. So that's from us.
Cool, thanks.
No worries.
Any additions you want to make, Niels, for example, also from your perspective, because I think you're even a step further on these guys, on really on bringing back the raw materials into the industry. Then you're on mute. Christophe, can you on mute?
Niels, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least my camera is on right now. But anyway, my mic is on as well now. Sorry about it. Yeah. No, I'm glad that you're asking that. We know a lot about the put on market of electronics in Europe. So we're all measuring that, and it's you can see the statistics everywhere. But we don't know exactly how much elements we do recover from this from the end of life electronics. So how much, let's say, copper or nickel is there in an electronic appliance, and how much do we recover from that? And if we don't recover it, where does it go to? Is it being landfilled, or do we ship it out to Asia or whatever? So it would be great when there's some legislation about that, about the real recovery requirements of elements which are in discarded electronics, for instance.
Yeah. And actually, it's an interesting segue. I think maybe Yoko, and then I'll come to you, Vincent. You could mention on that. Is there in the share repair database or something on bills of materials an area where this could be tracked, or that it could at least be guesstimated?
Yeah, exactly, because it's about estimating. Indeed, we are estimating how much waste was avoided, how much critical raw materials are coming out of these urban mine and so on. But it's all based on statistical models, stock and flow models we call it. But it's not really measured. So indeed, and we are always looking for new data streams of any kind to indeed check if we estimates are well, or if we are if they're just not missing something. So indeed, we are always looking for these data, but it's hard to find. I yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, Mark, go ahead.
Because people here in the forum say that it's not measured. Well, on the contrary, I'm most opposed to that, because we are a WELABEX certified company, and we work only with WELABEX certified companies who report to the WE forum, and our recycling rate is 98.96%. Two figures behind the comma. And we didn't find it out. It is measured, it is audited. So we do have right figures about that. The reporting is there, available for the WE at least.
Yeah,
now, it's not 100% collected, so only 45% of what is put on the market is now in those figures. So there's a lot of way to go, but the measurement is there. Now, what Niels said, that maybe some smelters only report for 4 elements or 5 elements. That could be better. Always room for improvement, of course. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's a good addition. Thanks.
And then maybe a final comment on these biggest drivers, also from your perspective, Vincent, as from a design perspective, but also maybe business model. What are their biggest drivers for now this momentum that is going on?
Yeah, so from our point of view, so we're not in the recycling. We try to prevent recycling. So we have a totally different view on the market. So for us, I think value of materials is the biggest stimulation that companies need. They need to see the value of materials and prevent them to go to waste. So how we see it, you have a value of 100 when you ship it from cradle to gate, goes out of the gate. At that point, the value is 0 for the company in a linear economy. So we need to change something there. We need to stimulate them to see that there is, when it goes out of their gate, out of their hands, it should be high value to take it back. And those are the kind of exercises that we do, that there is some remanufacturing, reuse of just parts, not full products, but parts or materials, that should be possible and that there is a lot of value there.
Yeah. Very good. I'm going to try to take a question from the audience. So I will do the question from the audience of Alexis a bit later on, but I will first go to Matthew. Basically, there is a question on what is the view of the panel on which materials are affected by the current global trade disruptions, for example, nickel, and could an increased recovery rate of ICT or electronics create a raw material flow for our economy? Is this a possibility, or what needs to be happening? I assume that's a bit the question. Yeah.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's basically the answer. We need to make sure that we have these kind of raw materials within our own supply chain. These materials are out there. It's just a matter of recovering them. But in most cases, a lot of materials are being lost at smelters because they have a focus on a certain group of metals and are not able or capable of extracting the other elements which are also in that particular waste flow. So we need to step up the game, and we have to make sure that we refine a lot more than we do now. And all the elements are out there because in our case, we will process about 15,000 tons of discarded print circuit boards, and we will extract about 150,000 kilos of nickel from that. So that's a fair amount. And we can put as nickel into a lot of EV batteries, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to add, I was a couple of weeks ago on the future of the car, and there you see as well that the mining of the batteries on the lithium or other raw materials will be the next wave of raw material sources. So I think that's definitely an area we need to further invest upon,
Right.
and definitely support initiatives like yours on circular industries. If we move to the question number 2, what would your suggestion be to improve cooperation of circular economy across the value chain from resource provision over design until all steps after primary use? Maybe Vincent, maybe you can start with that one. I think you covered already a part of it, but I think it's interesting from your design perspective to see, okay, what is still bottlenecks, or what areas need to be improved, or what do people need to think of?
Okay. I think for me, there's 2 points or 2 suggestions that I would give. First is standardization. So a lot of companies, they use their own products, their own parts from their own suppliers that they designed and developed themselves. It's not always necessary to go that far. And that's, I think, our job. We should inspire companies to use off-the-shelf standard components a lot more. Like everywhere we can, we should try to influence that. Because if we do, then on the other hand, and that's the second missing part, then there is an opportunity for a marketplace where these parts can flow from one company to another. So you get some sort of a second-hand marketplace of valuable materials or parts that are valuable for more companies, and not just scrap or raw materials, but like keeping, from a life cycle perspective, there's a lot of energy and a lot of footprint going into manufacturing parts and shipping them all the way here, because a lot of them come from other sides of the world, and to skip that process, that part of the process, we should keep them here and should keep them alive. And there's a lot of parts that don't go to waste after one commercial cycle. So they could still have 2 or 3 or 4 more cycles. So yeah, that's my suggestion. So standardization and a marketplace.
Yeah, great. Anybody else that wants to?
Peter, yes. Can I go back to question 1
Yeah.
that Matthew asked about the critical raw materials. So we, just to let you guys know, it's a bit more about collaboration again. It was over the past couple of years we worked with the University of the West of Scotland, just David there, and it was to collaborate with the universities, different departments to retract, I think it was cobalt and gold from the motherboards of that get into the laptops and PCs as well. So through that collaboration, we won an award last year. It was the best circular economy company, a CRN award, which is like a website and an organisation that supports like channel resellers and things like that in the UK. Yeah, so again, just kind of to demonstrate the different collaborations that organisations like yourself and working with different.
Yep. Stuck or? Yep. Unfortunately, we have a technical issue, but yeah, maybe we can continue on this, and I'm actually going to try to combine two questions, one from Alexis and one from Maril Isla. So basically, the question from Alexis is the person is curious about, have we reached a point where recycling and reusing actually cuts cost compared to buying new raw materials? And do we think, or do you think we will ever reach this? And actually, the second question I think is related to that, is without taxation on virgin or new raw materials, do we think that these materials can sustainably and competitively be recovered? So I don't know, Niels or Mark, or also Yoko, if you want to comment.
Yeah, I can elaborate on the economically recovery of secondary mined materials. Basically, it's cheaper to recover materials than mining them from the earth. So that already gives a very good business model when you start as an urban mining as we do. And furthermore, we still need primary mining. So I have to be clear about that, because primary mining will never replace urban mining, because we need so much elements which we put into electronics, for instance. Yeah, urban mining helps, but it won't solve the problem of ever increasing demand for raw materials.
Yeah, so if I can add something, maybe you should not tax the use of virgin materials, but you should as the legislation will do, the recycled content has to be much bigger. That's also a positive drive, I think. Secondly, maybe for Vincent, for instance, the plastics. We see a lot of plastics here with salt and pepper, and you don't know what it's all about. So it's very difficult to have them good, to recycle them very good, because there are so many different things. If we could standardize that a little bit, that would help a lot, of course. And the more recycling is a thing of big volumes and all the same. Once we can have that a little bit more altogether, that would be nice.
Yeah.
And there is, of course, also the legislation. For instance, if you have flame retardants in plastics, you cannot use them you cannot reuse them as a plastic. We have to incinerate them in Flanders. So there's also the part of legislation. Although we could reuse them, we still have to incinerate them.
Okay.
I could maybe add one more thing.
Yes.
Based on environmental impact, from that point of view, urban mining and recovery secondary materials is a lot better from the full perspective of sustainability than primary mined raw materials. So also there has an advantage.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but also
taking into, yeah, Yoko.
I mean, with one addition also is that most of the recycling technologies, they also consume a lot of energy. They use chemicals and so on. This is also like the final step, please prefer first reuse and the more inner circles, and then only choose for recycling.
Very true. So we are making good progress also on the time, so we need to keep that pace in. So I'll shift to the next question that I had, and it's also building on what was explained by Yoko. What is the impact that you expect of the ESPR rules, or the Eco Design for Sustainable Products regulation, as proposed by the EU Commission, and the right of repair? How do you anticipate as a business on this, and what do you expect as an impact on society, or also on the behavior of people?
Well, maybe I can say something about that. The right to repair will of course. Do you still hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, sorry, because I don't see you anymore. Okay, so the right to repair will certainly help us. Just to give you one example, it's a very simple one. If you have an iPhone with a battery that you cannot remove, well, that's already a big problem. Once you can remove the battery, 50% of the problem is already solved. And just one small example. So the eco design will certainly help us, and certainly also the right to repair, and the accessibility of the software to upgrade devices is also an important thing. It relates more to the second question, but it's very important also that we have access to the software to upgrade things up to the standard.
Michael, I don't know if you have additions on that, because you also mentioned before the education as well of people, and how they want to do that. Oh. You're on mute.
You hear me now, aye?
Yes.
Sorry, I disappeared as well because my laptop died. One of the boys was bringing in my charger, then it just went out. So apologies, guys. Yeah, we focused again around government really enforcing change, educating not just end users, but also the consumers as well. Large organisations, manufacturers especially as well. When you're looking at the big tier 1 vendors again, your HPs, Dells, Toshibas, Samsungs, people like that, and really breaking the I think it's take, make and dispose process. It's really just changing the whole method around the conventional method around what everyone's really doing just now. We're really excited at Re-Tek. We envisage a new business model to support our clients by upgrading their products and ensuring they're kept for as long as possible as well. The whole business around. I think in Scotland it's called making things last. It's a circular economy strategy that we've got over here, and organisations in our sector, not just the IT asset disposal, but just the whole IT channel in general. I've got a major part to play in ensuring that the process and information is driven through a digital passport process as well, digital product passport. It's providing meaningful information to all the shareholders that are bought in, in the whole journey as well. So I've got some information that I think Billy's provided around the digital passport and what that means, so I can share that as well at the end.
Yes. Vincent, on the CSPR rules, I guess this is also an opportunity for business model design or business model development. I don't know if you have any further comments on that, on what this regulation could entail for also new startups, new businesses to develop.
Yeah, I think what we see is a lot of hesitance from companies to take the step and to start really rethink how they approach the market. So I think these regulations are very, very strong and good push for certain companies that really need the push in the back to take a step. So I think it's good, and I think they're also heading they have the right focus for me. So I think it's very good, because at that point people will have to see things differently in order to do good business. So yeah, I think and we are in the middle of this, and so I think it's a good development.
Yeah. Then maybe Niels, I wanted to also talk to you about the business model, because mining corporations, but also big chemical companies, they have been talking for the last 2 decades or something on using urban mining and waste belts as the new raw material thing, but nobody is, there is definitely research going on and there are pilot plants, but there's nobody's really like putting it forward like you are doing. What is the difference? Why do you take the step, or is it also because you really see that opportunity now being presented?
Yeah, there's a big opportunity because nobody's moving at this moment. So there are a lot of smelters of the same. What we actually need is a lot of specialized smelting and refining capacity, because there are much more elements than the 5 most valuable elements like silver, gold, platinum, palladium, and copper. But the thing is, when you look at printed circuit boards in specific, when you have all the elements on the printed circuit boards, these 5 elements I just mentioned are about 90% of the value of the elements on the printed circuit boards. And nobody's doing its utmost to recover the other 10%, because they think it's not economically viable. But in our case, we'll have a specialized process to recover as much elements as we can. And then you need a certain economy of scale. So you need a lot of mass to process. And when you have a certain economy of scale, you can make it work. But it doesn't fit into the processes of traditional or regular integrated smelters, like they are called. So we're a specialized smelter, and that's the big difference.
Okay, very good. And then we're moving towards the final question, actually, and it's also towards the audience. If there are other questions, please put them like you have been doing. And we will do a round table, I guess, on this one. What would be your advice to other SMEs that want to transform into a circular activity or a circular economy? What are some of the advices or benefits that you have seen that you could share with the audience? So I don't know, Michael, if you want to kick that off.
Yeah, guys, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
As Billy mentioned in the video, he was focusing around encouraging consumer returns. We work with multiple groups all across the UK, in particular Scotland, to recover domestic and consumer SME IT equipment that would normally end up in recycling centres that would just then get put through the convention and recycling, and we downstream. There's this particular one we're working with a local council where they specifically asked for secure totes, plastic totes, to be sent to the recycling centres, and they were going to do all the marketing around bring your old IT equipment and we will recycle it, or we will reuse it for you as much as we can. All the data wiping and everything would be taken care of, rather than obviously these redundant tablets, mobile phones, laptops, just getting not put in the bin, but just get broken down in all the different waste streams. So yeah, I think it's really focusing on the whole, the reuse. We provide a full suite of reports for all our organisations that we work with that confirm exactly what's happened with each individual asset that we've collected as well, so we can provide reuse rates against the how much has been recycled and how much has been reused. Our reuse rates, I think, are over 80% of every single item that we do bring in and reuse. And I think Billy mentioned in the video as well about sustainability and working with the the third sector in particular. We do a lot with the third sector in terms of charitable donations, not just monetary, but actually donating fully functional equipment back into the third sector for hospices to use, for charities to reuse again within their organisations. So in the absence of reuse rates for local authorities, projects such as the charity partnerships help reduce the recycling rates. But we do again need the guidance needs to come from the top down, and again, from the government to set these targets, etc. as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mark, maybe if you can add your advice. You've been also in the industry a long time. Any tips or advice that you can give?
Well, product as a service, that's my advice. Stay owner of your own materials and give them a longer life. Only problem I see is the financing, because if you stay owner, you paid your material and then you get your money back once in a while or every month if it's okay. But also there are solutions for already other companies are providing services to do the financing of the products, so you can stay owner of the material.
Yeah. And maybe Niels, you're a relatively young company, but you have experienced people on board. So what can you already share of learnings that you have in this circular electronics industry?
Yeah, well, at first everybody told us what you are going to achieve or what you want to achieve won't work. It isn't technically viable or it isn't economically viable. But you just have to go on and execute your plans. So don't listen to others. Just do what you want to do and have to do. And on the other side, I also meet a lot of other companies who have residual waste streams. But in most cases, their streams are too small to make a business case on it. So in that case, I would advise them just combine your waste streams with other companies and make sure you reach a certain economy of scale so you can make it viable.
Yeah, printed circuit boards to us, and we will bring them to you then.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. Yoko, from maybe a research perspective, do you have also advice on companies and how you can support?
Yeah, my advice would be build a value chain around you and work closely together with other organizations, and also start logging data and collect the data, and also try to retrieve as much as information from the data you're collecting so that you can easily grasp what you are doing and learn from it and see trends in your performance and the customers and in all of that. So yeah, analyze the data and work closely together. That would be my 2 cents.
Yep. Cool. And Vincent, any 5 cents from your side?
Yes. I think my advice would be first look for the added value in the business, in a circular business for your client. If you can validate that, then developing a circular model will be a lot easier, and you can go a lot further than in a general situation. So I would start in the sales and in the commercialization of the model, and then build it.
Okay.
If I can add maybe something which is also really important, I think, is that you have to cooperate in this business model with product as a service or circular model, cooperate with other businesses. For instance, we work with leasing companies, maybe like Re-Tek also does. Leasing companies who take back the first lease they take back. We do the full refurbishment of that, and now they lease it out again a second time, and maybe a third time or a fourth time. So they stay in their business, we stay in our business, but we cooperate, and by doing that, we have a circular win-win situation.
Yeah, I think around what Mark's just said, guys, as well, you can see from everyone's comments, it's really all about collaborating with all different types of organisations in all different sectors, and then coming together. I've noticed so many times that, just working with customers on these sustainability projects, more and more opportunities come out of the back of it. Just the more you work on these things, and the more bought in that particular customer gets, the more ideas start coming out the woodwork, and then more opportunities arise, and then you start working on more and more things with them.
Yeah. And actually, we got a question also from the audience coming in on that, I believe, is that Greta is asking, to your experience, why are many companies hesitant to develop towards circular business models? I think collaboration is one element, I think, in this story. Are there other maybe that you could elaborate on that you think that's a barrier for companies to think more circular?
Financing. financing, as I said. That's a major thing, and there are solutions. So that's the good thing.
I think for many more conservative thinking companies, there is no real reason to change. So, I mean, I can tell them 100 reasons to change, but they don't see that because it's not influencing them, it's not hurting them enough.
Yeah.
So if there's no pain, then why change? And I think especially salespeople, people that have to sell it, they always try to sell the easiest way, and circularity is very complex. So I think also there, yeah, getting people change their habits, change their minds, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think with Vincent with the coming from the top down, you know, there has to be, you know, a message that comes in from, you know, the governments in the particular countries to be explaining this to them, you know, and you know what the repercussions are of, you know, what they're currently doing based against, you know, the benefits of moving towards a more circular model as well, particularly around reuse and the reuse of IT assets in particular.
Furthermore, what I see is that a lot of companies are shareholder value driven. So they need to create dividends for their shareholders. In the meantime, they don't do anything about sustainability. So, and also because a lot of board directors, they will get a financial bonus based on the financial results, but not on the sustainable results. That's also a pity, I think.
Yeah. There are some changes going, but it's a big tanker that is hard to change course.
Yeah,
I agree and disagree with Nico, but I think it's so we work for corporates, global companies, and you see there's a definite push from consumers for those companies to change, but they're very slow. So they're changing now, and you'll see the effect in 5 to 10 years. And then you have the small companies, privately owned. So I'm part of the VOCA, it's a Chamber of Commerce charter in sustainability. And that's mainly private owned companies that really, because in their beliefs and they're part of society, they want to change. So it's a yes and no, and there's a lot of corporates that are still moving very, very slow. But in the smaller companies, you definitely see a change. And also there is first steps, so it's going to take time until they're reaching circularity, but they'll get there.
Yeah, you're really right about it, because family-owned companies, they're not, they don't really care about the dividends, but more about the impact they make.
Yes.
Yeah. Niels and Vincent as well. I think depending on obviously what your customer target base is, you know, if you are speaking to your large corporates, you know, the large enterprise customers, then, you know, with the stakeholders' dividends at the end of the year, when there is a financial incentive though, because they are, you know, getting rid of, you know, or disposing of 500 laptops, and then there's a you know, a financial return back into the business, as well as the whole sustainability message as well around, you know, you're actually getting money back for this equipment that you're giving to Re-Tek to then go and remarket and reuse in the second user market. But you know, you're also hitting these sustainability goals as well by, you know, by the reuse that you're using. And obviously it's choosing your suppliers. That's, I think, one of the questions that we're moving on to next. Again, it was the different suppliers that you work with and the different partners that you have around you as well.
Yeah. Great.
There are
main
OEMs that are really going in. It's a tank, right? Of course, and it's moving slowly, but it is moving. Right? For instance, we have a project going on with a big household appliance manufacturer, where when their technicians go to the customer, take back the old machine. The old machine we refurbish with the help of the OEM to get into the software, to get parts, to get technical backup, and they then are rented out again to poverty organizations where people can replace their old consuming machine by a newer, less consuming machine, and that pays back the whole rent of this machine. So it's already there. It's not huge at this moment, but it is moving. It's going into the right direction.
Yeah.
And there's also, for us as recyclers, a huge potential because a lot of those people who try to do the circular economy work, they face problems where they know nothing about, like return logistics or parts harvesting. How do you do that? How do you do the manufacturing? They're not used to do that. And there we as a company and other companies are there to help them. So again, as I said, partnering up with different companies who are specialized in those things, and then it makes the circle go around.
And on that note, I want to thank you all for this interesting discussion. I think that's a very valid point, what you all were saying at the end. It's about collaborating, working together across the different silos, and also about education and supporting each other to make it happen. And we are just at the beginning, but there is definitely a momentum going, and a lot of people need to take it to that it's shifted off the mindset. So I want to thank the panel and Yoko as well for being here and talking, also for the audience for asking questions. I will try to make a short summary of what we have learned and what we have talked about. So we started also off with Yoko Dams that covered a whole lot on regulations, policies, and the ESPR, but also hopefully a soon well-accepted digital passport for products. And then also I'm looking forward how right to repair, that is now really trending everywhere, is really being practically implemented. And then from the different questions that we had on the big drivers, I think big programs such as the Green Deal or the Battery Directive and so on are helping next to regulations and that are critical, especially to jumpstart some of the businesses. But also I think we will need to further experiment with business models. Education is a big thing on all levels, and then also measuring our impact and correcting as we go. If we look at what needs to still be improved, I think, and that's a design perspective for sure, but also going for more standardization so that we can reuse, rework, and also standardize our supply chains that then can create, in effect, a marketplace for these materials, bringing them quicker and shorter supply chains quicker into the market again. We learned from Niels that if done properly, recovery is cheaper than the primary mining. But of course, legislation and taxation can and should help to also build this industry. And then I think one of the topics that we discussed on the right to repair is that there needs to be a push towards the brand owners to start thinking differently, but we see as well that there is a market pull from consumers already putting the pressure on the brand owners to have that. Education, I've repeated it already a few times, and then for me, what is a nice one, and it's also a good summary of what we have been doing here, it's a key word is collaboration. So it's really cooperation between the different stakeholders, making the part your own part that I liked as well from Niels. Believe in your mission and just do it, because yeah, it's not because nobody has done it before that it's not the right thing to do. And then also commenting on Vincent's remark on focus on the value add. So really trying to find where you bring the most value add. And with that, many thanks for all the people around here. And I want to give then back the word to Katharina for the final remarks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It was very interesting. Thank you, Pieter, for the wrap-up and the inspiring takeaways from everybody. We have come to the end of the webinar, so a big thank you to the participating companies, everybody present here, willing to share your thoughts and insights. On behalf of Pieter and myself, one more big thanks to our partners from NRW, Zero Waste Scotland and Netherlands Enterprise Agency. But of course, we thank most of all the audience for being with us, for having been a great audience, asking very interesting questions, and I think we all can take something from this. There is a possibility to connect via the platform. I mentioned it once more. Hannah Hagedorn from NRW has mentioned it at the beginning, also in the chat I saw. So let me draw your attention to the next activities within the project Circular SMEs across Europe. I see that our colleagues from NRW are organizing an event at the IFAD trade fair in Munich at the end of this month, beginning of June. On the 29th of June, our Polish colleagues will organize a webinar on circular economy in food and nutrients. And finally, the city of Bottrop in North Rhine-Westphalia will be the circular hotspot from the 12th to the 14th of September this year. So yes, from our side, thanks once more. I can see that there is a role for each of us in what we have heard today, spreading the word, seeking collaborations along the chain. So thank you once again. We will increase and hopefully go and realize our ambitions towards a circular economy in electronics a little bit more. So thank you once again to all of you. And with this, we close the webinar and goodbye. Thank you.